Hola, bienvenidos al Give and Go. Yo soy su presentador, Reynoso, con mi amigo
Soltero.
Mexico, man. Mexico. We are going to talk about Mexico, the beautiful nation of which I pertain to. It has arrived, man. The built-up podcast, the built-up episode, the one that everyone's been waiting for. Mexico is on deck, and let's talk about this historic team who is making their 17th appearance in the World Cup. They were in that first World Cup in 1930. They participated. They got knocked out in the first round. And from then on, the 70s and 80s came when they hosted 2 World Cups. And both times they made it to the quarterfinals. That beautiful 5th game, they actually managed to get to it within a 20-year span. An incredible moment. And then I think when I look back on the history, 86 was their best opportunity to actually get to a semifinal, but they lost in penalties leading up to it, so they weren't able to get there. But pretty crazy to think that that could have been Mexico's biggest opportunity at home to be in a semifinal or World Cup. Since then, man, pick any year. Pick any year you'd like. Any year. 2006, 2002, 2010, 2014, 2018, man. The same damn thing. Honestly, impressive how Mexico manages to make it out of a group so many times, back to back times, and then proceeds to just not make it to that 5th game. They lose out in the round of 16. So many different ways that we can look at this, so many different outcomes. The Netherlands one stands out to me the most because that's when I felt that we were the closest. That's the one time that I felt that we really got the opportunity now, especially when Giovanni Dos Santos made that beautiful goal. We went up 1-0.
Banger.
And there's 15 minutes left, and I'm thinking, if we can just hold on, bro, we have the opportunity to finally end this curse. And I might actually see a Mexican team go to the quarterfinal, man. I don't even want to talk about what happened, man. I don't even want to speak on it.
We don't need to.
We don't need to. We move on to 2018, where we saw them have an incredible match against Germany that lifted our spirits in no way that could be imagined. But then we lose to Sweden, and we lose our momentum. And we go into that round of 16 match, honestly, just knowing that we won't win the match. And what happens? Brazil just completely dominates and really doesn't give us an edge to defeat them. Brazil wins the game 2-0, and Mexico is once again clinging onto their hats thinking, damn, is it ever going to happen again?
Shit.
Qualification comes around, and they actually end up getting second in CONCACAF, but I think it's one of the most deceiving results that Mexico has put up in CONCACAF qualification because we did not play like a second-place team, and we'll get into that later. 8 wins, 4 draws, 2 losses. Funny enough, the same exact record as Canada. But my God, the difference in the energy around the team, the difference in the coaching, the difference in the way players talk about playing for a certain team, it's shown in how Canada and Mexico, when you look at their qualification cycles, can be looked at so differently, yet they're so similar in numbers. Group C is where Mexico lands with, yet again, Argentina facing off against this Argentine side that we basically see every World Cup at this point. A routine matchup for us. But then 2 new teams that I'm excited to see Mexico play against. Saudi Arabia and Poland, man. Making for a really interesting, at the very least, entertaining group going into the World Cup. And Mexico and Mexicans, such as myself, are hesitant, bro. Hesitant. I think I represent the population when I say that this is the lowest I felt about a Mexican team going into a World Cup post-2000s. So many times we've had teams that are actually very good, very formidable, and that we know can employ that Mexican grit, can play up to any opponent, can actually have a shot at surprising in the tournament. I think that's part of the reason for why Mexico's been able to make it out of the group stage basically every single time. But this time around, man, there's questions. There's concerns. Tata Martino is a questionable head coach. He has not proven to the Mexican fan base that he is the guy to lead this Mexican national team to the tournament. Likewise, the players just can oftentimes be described as uninspired. No chemistry. That excitement that was there from 2018 when you had Chicharito, Vela, Chucky Lozano shining and thriving on all cylinders, that's gone, man. It's been completely gone. New options, new players have tried to turn up to that occasion, but time and time again, we just are left disappointed, man. The friendlies in the buildup haven't given us the hope that we wanted. And losing out to the U.S. 3 times in a row has really dented the identity and legacy that Mexico had in CONCACAF.
Dude.
Regardless, though, Mexicans are a fierce, passionate type of people, a population of folk that are unafraid, naturally, are willing to go up against anybody despite the quality at hand. And I think that's what represents this Mexican national team and represents my belief with this team. Because I'll say it now, man. Despite how bad everything has gone, despite the results, the way that we played, you could talk about the Colombia game, you can talk about the U.S. games, you can talk about any match you like. The true fan in me comes out when Mexico shows up, man. And that fan is a fan that no matter what he sees on the pitch will always defend his team, will always support the team that represents his country, no matter the state of it, no matter the quality, no matter the questions and the drama. I'm going into this tournament thinking Mexico is going to continue that pattern of getting out of the group. I'm not even going to wait till predictions, bro.
I like it. I love it.
I'm not even going to wait. Mexico is making it out of the group, but my God, have they done everything to convince me otherwise?
When I think about the state of this Mexican national team, I am left a little bit confused. Because I'm going to echo a little bit of the things that you just said. Mexico, historically in the 2000s, have been, at the very least, a passionate team. A fierce team that has that CONCACAF team maxed out to where they play to the level of their opponent. I want to start with 2010. A team where my first introduction to what Mexico had to offer, and my God, did they have a lot to like, man. Holy shit.
And the first game of the tournament, man.
Oh my God, yeah, they opened it and put in a great performance. Just an entertaining display against South Africa. We all know the goals that happened in that game. Holy shit. But again, there's just, so many likable players, man. Rafa Marquez out on that pitch. Gerardo Torrado as well, captaining that side in the middle or leading that side in the middle. But then you had young players at the time really shining through too, like Andres Guardado, Chicharito making appearances, Carlos Vela as well. And then, of course, 17-year-old Giovanni Dos Santos making a huge impact alongside veterans like Cuauhtemoc Blanco. And I was like, God damn, this team is just fun to fucking watch.
I forgot that happened. Yeah, it's such a mix.
It's such a mix. Yeah. It's a crazy mix. And I was like, dang, dude, I think I said it in the U.S. take. I was like, I wish the U.S. played like Mexico, especially at the time, because my God, was I jealous. But not only that, they continued that outside of the World Cup, that style of play that was just so infectious, that was so beautiful to watch. That 2011 Gold Cup final where it was 2-0. U.S. looked like they were going to turn the tide and CONCACAF, but Mexico wasn't going to have it, bro. They said we're going to score 4 straight goals, and one of them is going to be a Giovanni Dos Santos banger. And then they go into 2014 where they almost get murdered by Costa Rica, as you beautifully put in our Costa Rica take. Yeah. But in that buildup, right before the tournament with Miguel Herrera kind of leading and head coaching the side, I was like, they might actually have something to work with here. You still have that feistiness of Giovanni Dos Santos, but then you have players like Héctor Herrera, Tecatito Corona coming up through the ranks, but then you have a prime Chicharito as well playing in this Mexican side. Veterans like Rafa Marquez being stable at the back, and then you have an incredible performance from Guillermo Ochoa in every single game. The highlight reel that you can make from that 2014 World Cup from Ochoa is ridiculous, bro. Man. It's ridiculous. But again, it showed me. I was like, yes, this is what I've come to learn, that when Mexico play in big games, they show the fuck up. And I was so proud. I was like, God damn, again, I wish the USA played like this. Even though we were having a good tournament ourselves, from a style of play perspective, I was like, holy shit, I love watching Mexico play in big games, because it's something that I've never seen a CONCACAF really be able to do, except for Costa Rica, specifically in 2014. But Mexico had that history of doing it in Gold Cups and World Cups consistently. Every year, Mexico was playing top quality football this side of the pond in the Americas. Then we go to 2018, and for me, it's still the same goddamn story. This time we have a prime Carlos Vela, alongside a more experienced Chicharito. And then you add in the youthfulness of Chucky Lozano, who at the time didn't know his powers, didn't know his own powers whatsoever. Oh. He was going against that German defense like he had no business, bro. And it was ridiculous. But again, it's what I had come to learn, that Mexico do not care who they were playing. If it's on the biggest stage in front of their own people in that crowd, they are going to perform. And again, an incredible performance, and it got a little shaky though for the first time, in my opinion, when they played against Sweden. Yep. And I was like, okay, this Mexico team got outdone completely. And I had not seen that truly at a World Cup. Now, obviously, we can say about the knockout stages where they got knocked out, but even then, I thought Mexico put in valiant performances to the point where I'm just like, okay, well, yeah, we lost on the day, Mexico, but God, the performance they put in made me so proud of them and the way they lost. But the way they lost against Sweden, I was like, I've never seen something like this before. Never. I was like, what the fuck did I just witness out on that pitch? Because that wasn't Mexico. I don't know who that was.
Dude, I mentioned it before too. People don't talk about that game.
Yeah, you did.
It's weird. No one talks about the beating that the Sweden people gave us, bro.
Yeah.
It was just a straight up 3-0 defeat that decided and eventually gave Sweden the top position in the group, and thus, and you could say an easier knockout stage round versus us getting drawn against Brazil, man. Like, it defined the tournament for us, and no one talks about it. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm talking about it. God damn, man.
Absolutely. And I remember at the time, I was so critical because I was like, you cannot play the way you played against Germany and South Korea and put in a shitty performance like you did against Sweden. I was like, this ain't it. They're going to get blown out against Brazil. 2-0 was a little bit more respectable, but from a pitch perspective, there was no chance. There was absolutely no chance, bro. And I think, honestly, that was the start of what would end up happening over these next 4 years, because the reason why I say I'm confused is because these last 4 years, bro, I'm seeing a Mexico side that I've never seen before. I'm seeing an indifference like I've never seen in this Mexican side. It is to the point where at the start of every game, Mexico act like they're already up 3-0. They have no drive at the beginning of games. Yeah, none. There's a huge amount of arrogance in this side to where I'm just like, y'all can't go against the USA and Canada and start in just first gear. You got to start in fifth, sixth gear against these high-flying sides if you want to even have a chance. And that's another thing, bro. Sure, they finished second. They did not win against the USA or Canada in all 4 games. They didn't get a single win against those top sides in CONCACAF. And I think that's very telling, in my opinion. Because at the very least, even that weird qualification cycle in 2014, they at least got results against the USA. At the very least. The USA, at least in terms of the scope of CONCACAF, they got Mexico's number. Yeah. And that's not normal either. That is not normal. But the Mexican national team, they're just letting it happen. They're letting Canada beat them. They're letting Canada just go at them like they have no fucking business. And I've only seen Costa Rica do it, but now we got the US joining in on this shit. We got Canada coming in, pouncing on Mexico, treating them like they're nothing. Mexico's supposed to be CONCACAF royalty, bro. And they're getting treated like peasants because they're playing like one. And it leaves me in a confused state because this Mexican national team has always shown me that they can fight. And I am not seeing any of that. And I think it comes down to this at the end of the day. There is a disease of complacency that has infected this squad. So much so that I just don't see any passion in this side. And it kind of makes sense. We saw the USA not qualify in 2018, and there was a reason. They completely relied on this old guard that had done it all. They took the USA to great heights in 2010, to incredible heights in 2014, and they were asked to do it a third time. And they were like, I'm done. I'm tired. We don't have anyone else to help us out. And at the end of the day, that complacency is what got the USA knocked out of the World Cup. The Mexico's a little bit luckier because their average quality is, in my opinion, higher than the USA just on average. So the Mexico has been able to kind of bank off of that. They've been able to get away with it. And you couple that with the idea that this qualification cycle, I think Central America have completely let CONCACAF down from a competitive perspective, then yeah, Mexico were always going to qualify no matter how good or bad they played. But the complacency that I'm seeing, I think, is incredibly concerning because I've always known Mexico to be competitive. I've said it fucking 5 times already in this preview. And it is to the point where I don't think I can ignore it anymore, man. I gave them a pass in 2014 because I was like, oh, well, you know what? They can reach that level because it's Mexico. But I don't know if I can give them that pass anymore, brother, because I don't think the transition from the old guard to the new guard has gone smoothly. Unlike the USA.
What new guard, bro?
Exactly.
I really don't know.
No, exactly. Unlike the USA, Mexico actually has tried to bring in young players. I'm talking about players like maybe Luis Chavez, players like Diego Lainez, players like Charlie Rodriguez. But the transition, bro, has been awkward. It has been so awkward to the point where like Tata will play these guys, but he'll start them and it'll be unconvincing. It'll be a point where you're like, Tata doesn't want to start these guys. He'd rather have a player that's better. Whereas if you look at the USA now, Berhalter's proud to start the players that he starts.
Obvious picks too.
It's obvious picks.
It makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. But when you see this Mexico side, you see some old faces for sure, and you see a lot of new faces. But for me, that transition from old to new has been really sloppy, and it's finally showing to the point where this Mexican team has a complacency and indifference to them to where they go out on the pitch and just like, I don't know who I can trust. I don't know what type of style we're playing. I don't know what Tata wants me to do, and it's truly showing out on the pitch, man. I don't know what to expect from this Mexico side, and in a very bad way.
I think people think that exact same thought pattern, which is what's crazy. I actually do think a lot of Mexican fans think the same way as you and see it because, bro, this qualification cycle, or you couldn't watch Mexico and not think those things, man. Otherwise, you're being blind. I'm not saying that I'm exactly on the same page as you. People are correlating the reason to a lot of different things. I think one thing is the inclusion of the youth has been really shaken, really questionable, but this is where the Tata Martino remarks come in, right? Where the question of, if we had a better coach, would there have been a better ability to kind of bring out the best in these either young players, but also in the experienced players? Because I want to get into something, which is I want to get into a comparison of Tata Martino versus Juan Carlos Osorio. Because, dude, do you remember how criticized Osorio was during his qualification cycle?
Yes.
Do you remember, bro? Like, promise me you haven't forgotten.
No, I remember.
Because it was awful, dude.
Bad.
And what really got me about it was that people were complaining because of the famous La Rotaciones.
Yes.
He was rotating players out, which is something that I've never seen ever since, and really did have me questioning my foundation when it came to the game of football. I was like, shit, is he onto something, or is this just a bad idea?
It's too much, maybe.
What is it?
Yeah.
Because he was doing it. But the thing with Osorio is that he was actually still getting really good results. We had a comfy 2018 qualification cycle, man.
Comfy.
Defeated Canada comfortably. I think we still took it to USA, even winning as well. But because of just the questions at hand with Osorio, people were critical because they didn't understand it. And even me, I didn't get it either. I was just like, why is he doing this? Because if you bring up the idea of like chemistry being formed in a team, does these rotations actually pay out to true chemistry? I don't think it does. And ultimately, we might have seen that with how it played out at the World Cup.
Yeah.
The peak of it was that Germany game where he perfectly, tactically positioned Mexico to win that match. And I give him a lot of credit for that. But after that, bro, it went to shit. The thing is, when I compare it to Tata Martino, is that there's no track record for Martino to actually go off of. He's getting criticized, but it's because, bro, we're not winning.
Yeah.
We're not. You made a great point. 4 matches against Canada and the U.S. in total, not a single victory. Not a single victory, bro. We are CONCACAF royalty. And we have Canada fucking us in the ass, bro. Fucking taking it to us, man. That game in Canada, bro, where it was snowing and shit.
Yeah.
One of the worst performances I've seen from Mexico, man. Uninspired, lifeless, and dreadful.
Yeah.
And my issue from that moment on, because I've seen them go up against the USA and completely struggle, barely generate any chances whatsoever, has that it's a reactionary type of approach where I'm just like, okay, let's start at the top. Tata Martino's not that guy. He's not. I think the Mexican fan base agrees, and I think everyone really does see that. But because of the timing of this realization, it's put us in a really awkward position. We've mentioned before in these deep dives how firing a coach 3-4 months out from a tournament can be awful for you, can be terrible. Mexico is almost reluctant to that, but I do think the federation is playing a role in almost like, I don't know, man. There's been talks about corruption and shit. There's some shit at hand where I'm like, bro, I'm surprised they haven't done it.
Yeah.
And so already we're put in a really awkward position where we want Tata out, but it might be too late to want him out.
Yeah.
I think when I look at Tata's tactics, when I see who he's starting, bro, dude, what the hell is Antuna doing getting so many minutes, man?
Yeah.
What the hell has he done to earn those minutes? What the midfield, bro, Herrera, to get so much playing time during the qualification system. Yeah. What has he done, bro? He's not playing for Atletico Madrid. Got to move to Houston Dynamo and has been absolutely mediocre for them this whole time out. His goalkeeping decision I thought has been interesting. Not really giving minutes to Acevedo, a rising talent, sticking to that old guard. I think you brought up the point of the new guard not really having a good transition, but I do think that Tata has had a role in not providing them the biggest ability to smoothly transition into this squad, man, because I really do think the Mexican squad does have some good youth talent, but bro, we need to know how to utilize it, man. We need a coach that knows how to mold these guys, how to actually put them in positions where they can succeed. If you got these young players coming in and just being given 20, 30 minutes like Linus was throughout the qualification, man, he's not going to thrive. He's not going to do shit. No. Same like with when he's given Arteaga minutes, you know? Or when he's given Julian
That
Araujo.
one's been
like,
frustrating.
It's the same fucking shit. Like, he puts them in really bad positions, and then he's like, oh, they didn't do well.
Yeah.
So then we're going to put in a guy like Dominguez from Cruz Azul and then entrust him for the qualification cycle. I'm like, bro, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
This is stupid, bro.
Yeah.
I'm just like, bro, this is ridiculous. But you have a point.
Like the Joker.
That's what's so crazy about this team, man. That's how fucking they got me like an emotional rag doll right now, man.
You're
Going
abused.
From wall to wall,
you're
bro.
abused. You're emotionally abused.
I'm tired, man. I'm tired. I'm so tired.
I get
There's
it.
so much bad to this team. But the reason it tires me out is because I do think there's an essence of good. I do think there's something naturally, something organic, something that's real, and I think there's something that's still representative of those 2014, 2010, 2006, 2002, 1998, 1994, 1990 Mexican teams, because that's who Mexicans are. So I say all this to say this, man. For me, it's the lineup. I think Tata is starting the wrong guys. I think he's going about this whole thing completely wrong in the sense that he is starting guys that are entitled. He's starting guys that feel that they deserve to start because of their quality, maybe because of where they're playing. But there's actually a combination of Mexican players here that if they are put together in the right way, could actually make for a really good squad. And I would compare it to the U.S., man. If they approach this Mexican squad the way that USA does, I think this would be a lot more productive than what it is right now, man. Herrera should not have started as many fucking games as he did during qualification. To me, it's that fucking simple. We have other guys like Luis Chavez. I remember a few podcasts ago I mentioned that the Pachuca guys deserve some minutes. Tata's doing that shit fucking
now.
A friendly, the latest friendly. He finally started doing it. I'm like, bro, you're not putting these guys in positions to succeed.
No.
So let's look at the goddamn lineup, man, because I want to talk about the lineup that I see Tata starting with, but then also the lineup that I think should start, because there's something here. At the back, I know there's been a debate with Ochoa. There's people saying that he's a little too old, that he's a little washed, but regardless, I actually don't mind the Ochoa starting thing. I really don't.
I don't.
Obviously, if I had my pick, I would put a guy fresher, younger, like Acevedo. But, I'm not going to complain if Ochoa is starting. I feel like that's kind of the credit that he has earned this whole time around. He's an experienced goalkeeper for us. And you mentioned it, bro. You can make a highlight reel from what he did in 2014, and he would look like fucking Gigi Buffon. Dude. It's insane what he achieved that tournament. And then the following tournament as well.
He was pretty
Germany
good.
Game,
he was
bro,
great.
He had a really underrated save when Toni Kroos shot a free kick, was going top bins, and Ochoa got his fingertips on it and saved it. And I was like, fucking San Ochoa is back, bro. He's back. He's here. Good to see you. 2022, though, might be it, man. Like, that's got to be
it has to be.
It might be too much. And that's my thing, that we're that's just, it's a lot to ask from a guy to do what he did 8 years ago.
God.
But fuck it, you know, it's not the worst thing in the world when he's still like 36 years old. There might still be something there. So I'm not that down on the idea of it, but I just wish that he had given Acevedo more minutes. That's really all my take is.
No, I actually agree because I'm fine with the Ochoa pick simply because I haven't really seen any other Mexican keeper get realistic minutes in between the sticks. I just haven't seen it. So when I do see Ochoa play, I don't really see a lot of mistakes. So because of that, I'm like, yeah, no, Ochoa, I think deserves the start. He still has that veteran presence. He's not too old, as in he's not 40 plus years of age. So at least from a goalkeeping perspective, he's still at a decent age to play at an elite level. So because of that, I think I'm actually completely fine with Ochoa starting for Mexico and what has to be his final World Cup. And that's the thing, bro. Enjoy it now because this will be Ochoa's. I do think this will be Ochoa's last true minutes at a big international tournament. And I'm actually going to take that with a lot of like grace and happiness because Ochoa has given me some incredible moments and this will be it. We'll never see Ochoa at another World Cup and it's going to be really hard to fill the boots that he's going to leave.
Bro, I've been so caught up in the debate of Acevedo that I didn't even think about this being Ochoa's last hurrah, man.
This is it. He'll be like 41 or 42 come next World Cup, and
oh no, bro,
that's just too
don't
much.
do that.
That's
Don't
just
do that.
yeah. I don't even want to. I don't even entertain it.
Before him, it was El Conejo Perez,
no, yeah,
and then Osvaldo Sanchez in 2006. That's it. Those are the only two names that started at the World Cup. Ochoa has been here the past 3 World Cups or 2. And now he's going to be at his 3rd World Cup, man. Like, that is pretty ridiculous. Jeez, man. Jeez,
he's had a hell of a reign because I remember him starting in 2011, and at the end of the day, he would have had 11 straight years as Mexico's number 1, and that's incredible, an incredible dynasty for Ochoa, and has to go down as one of the greats for Mexico in general.
And you're right, like. Once the World Cup ends, I think that transition will start.
It has to.
Like, damn, dude, that's actually, goddamn, sentimental right now. The back line is interesting. Yeah. The back line is fucking interesting, man. All I know is there's one surefire starter. The rest could be talked about.
Okay, yeah.
So let's start there. Cesar Montes.
Montes is starting.
Montes is starting.
Yeah.
Montes is starting. He's been our saving grace throughout qualification. I think his record actually showed that when he started games, we actually didn't lose a game in qualification.
Oh yeah. I think
like actually an actual stat. He wasn't there for the USA debacle that happened in Columbus. Would it have happened if he was still there? I'm not fully sure, but the record stands, man. He's like the Mexican Van Dyke in that sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I think that he's playing his best. He's at Monterrey right now, who had a really good Liga MX season.
Yes.
Didn't make it to the final, but they still had a really impressive showing in playoffs. So I think Cesar Montes starts for sure, but what it gets really, really fucking interesting is who the hell joins him, man?
Yeah.
Because Johan Vasquez was seen as potentially the guy for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
We were talking about him as like, he might be the guy. He's in Europe right now. He got that move from Pumas, went to Italy, and is now at Cremonese. Could he be the guy that can fulfill the boots of being that leader in the back line and pairing up with Cesar Montes and proving to be a really good center back duo in CONCACAF? Yeah. But he's been awful this season, man. Yeah. His overall rating for how he's performed at Cremonese this season as he's on loan has been really bad. It's been below really mediocre. It's been nothing to even like look at and be like, oh, like there's some hope there. It's just been bad. Yeah. And the thing is, like, I actually give him credit because a running theme of Mexican players that they often get looked down upon if they go to Europe and they don't succeed. I think the biggest example is Macias, the Guadalajara and León product who went to Getafe, didn't have a really good experience. Actually was really bad. But then got shit on for trying to go to Europe. Yeah. And then eventually came back to Chivas and hasn't played a minute since. I think there's a toxicity there where if you're Mexican and you go to Europe, you're expected to just succeed. You're expected to be a Chucky Lozano. You're expected to be a Chicharito. But that's just not realistic, man. Yeah. We have to have more players that are willing to do this, willing to fail in Europe. So because any day, I'd take a failing player at Europe any day over a player that's mediocre or mid in Liga MX. Like, please give me that resurgence, give me that motivation, and I'll take it any day. So I give credit to Johan Vasquez for what he's done, but ultimately, I actually don't think he's going to get the start because of his poor form right now.
Agreed.
Where the conversation gets a little bit more interesting is where you have two options with Nestor Araujo or Hector Moreno.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, if Hector Moreno ends up starting this World Cup, it'll be such a sign of how much Mexico is falling in the defensive positions. Yeah. This is bad. If Moreno is starting, we have two players from Liga MX that play at the same club.
Yeah.
Starting for the Mexican national team. And I don't think that's a good thing, man. I don't think that's something we should be happy about.
Yeah, there should be a center back somewhere else popping off.
Yes.
But there realistically just isn't.
Realistically, and I actually think there's a genuine chance that Moreno gets the start because Araujo has been similar to him where there hasn't been much to bank on when you look at Araujo, man. He's not the type of player that when he puts on the Mexican jersey, he like lifts up his level.
No, he's not.
If anything,
he's not.
I think Moreno might be more of that.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think it's going to be Cesar Montes and Hector Moreno starting at center back for us.
I actually completely agree. And to talk about that contention center back position, you already said about Vasquez. His form is too poor, Cremonese. They're literally last in Serie A, but it's not even Vasquez's fault. He's not even playing realistically. Yeah. He gets very few minutes off the bench, sparing when he does play. So he cannot start for Mexico if he's barely playing at a center back position at club level. It just cannot happen. It just sucks because there was a time when he was playing at Liga MX where it's like, this guy is it. He has the talent at such a young teenage age. I was like, yeah, Johan Vasquez is going to be the next best center back for Mexico, but it just has been a little weird for him. But I'm not going to be too dire like you. I'm going to agree with you. I'm glad he went to Europe, and there's still so much time for him to become a great center back.
Yeah, he's still young.
He's still very young. So we can't count out Vasquez in the long run, but right now, he cannot be the starting center back for Mexico. You look at Nestor Araujo, and I actually agree. I think when he moved to Celta, there was a reason. He was an incredible center back, and he was playing very, very well. The unfortunate thing is that I think he's just a little too passive. He hasn't aged too well. He does play well for America, and an America side that had a very good season. But I think when you compare him to his compatriot in Hector Moreno, if you do a direct comparison and who's just the better individual defender right now, I think it's Moreno, bro. And it may not be the best option, but just pound for pound, what you have at your disposal, Tata Martino has to pick Moreno, in my opinion. I think he has to, because I think one saving grace that you have to say about Montes and Moreno is that they did have the best defense in Liga MX throughout the regular Apertura season. They had the best defense. I think that does mean something. And I think another plus that you get from Moreno is that I think he's 33 or 34 years of age. Mm-hmm. So he's not going to give you prime quality center back defending.
He was great in his prime, though.
He was fantastic.
Man. I love Moreno when he was in prime.
And he won't give you that at this World Cup. But one thing he will give you, especially if you talk about the players that probably start in fullback position, he's going to give you the only veteran experience in that back line. So I think that's why Martino honestly actually doesn't have a choice here. In my opinion, I think he has to start Moreno alongside Montes.
Yeah, I completely agree. Moreno just has a bigger height when he's on the national team, man. I remember he scored a goal against, I think it was like El Salvador or Panama in the qualification cycle. He has a bigger threat offensively as well when he's like in a set piece in a corner. I think Moreno would be the pick here. So, yeah, man, I guess I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I'm down. I'm down for a Moreno Montes back line.
Yeah.
This is where it gets super interesting is the fullback positions, because I would argue we actually have some depth in one of these spots. I'm going to start there with the right back position.
Yeah.
It's weird, man. We just have this in really good depth in one certain position.
Yeah, it's actually kind of frustrating.
Yeah, really frustrating because we have names like Jorge Sanchez, who has just made the move from America to Ajax and has actually been getting the nod at Ajax a lot, man. He like at first was getting a few minutes here and there, but suddenly like this past month, he's been playing every game for Ajax. Man.
Every game.
Like I'm talking Champions League games and games in the Eredivisie. So already I'm like, wow, good for you, Jorge.
Yeah.
Likewise, though, you have Liga MX champion and back-to-back finals appearance player Kevin Alvarez, man.
Dude.
Kevin Alvarez.
Yeah.
And this kid's a youngster, man. This kid is young. He has found a way to become one of the most prominent right backs in Liga MX, and if not the best
I think he's the best right back in the MX.
crazy, man.
Yeah.
Crazy. One of the more modern approaches to the game that I've seen from a Mexican player in this lineup. He's got a good future ahead of him. I'm excited for him. He's one of those players I'm like, okay, continue molding yourself. Continue developing, because Kevin Alvarez could be one of those guys that eventually makes a move to Europe. This might be his last year at Pachuca after this
I'd
championship.
love
man.
that.
If anything, the most solidity that we have on this national team, this might be one of the spots.
Might be the right back. Yeah.
It might be the right back. Ultimately, though, with how I see Tata playing and how I see him utilizing these players, I think he's going to go with Jorge Sanchez.
Yeah.
But then I mentioned that I'm going to do a little prediction of Tata's picks, but also Reynoso's picks. I think there's a genuine argument for Alvarez, bro.
I do.
I think Alvarez should actually be looked at and considered because his form is ridiculous right now, man.
Yeah.
And although Jorge Sanchez is in Europe playing these really big games, I don't think he's necessarily shining. He's playing good. He's playing good enough to he's playing his role. Kevin Alvarez has taken Liga MX by storm, bro.
Yeah.
He's made it his league in the fullback position. And I'm just like, bro, honestly, it might be worth a flyer here to start Alvarez. But that's Reynoso's pick. And I do think Martino goes with Jorge Sanchez.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think Jorge Sanchez will start at right back for Mexico, but it's simply because of timing. I see Kevin Alvarez's ceiling as being very high. If this World Cup was a year later and Kevin Alvarez had an extra full year to fulfill his club career and to just get better and better every single game, I actually think Alvarez has a much higher potential than Jorge Sanchez. Obviously, I like how you said it though, because I think Alvarez is truly a modern player, bro.
Yeah.
He loves the ball. He loves the ball at his feet, bro. Anytime Alvarez can look for the ball, you see he's ball hungry. He'll get it, and he loves to combine. Short little 1-2 touches, little nice tight passes, little give and goes. Alvarez always looks to be a little bit more dynamic, in my opinion, than Sanchez. Because you're right, I think Sanchez plays it very, very safe. And that actually goes against Alvarez because Alvarez does get a little exposed. Even though they dominated against Toluca, there were so many moments where I'm like, Alvarez, that was a heavy touch. That was a heavy touch because he got a little too excited and he's 80 yards up the pitch.
Yeah, he goes up, man.
He goes up.
Yeah, he likes to go
and
up.
it's so exciting to see. But I think just simply the fact that Alvarez just hit the scene in Mexico, we've already talked about how Martino has had a weird time bringing in these new talents. I think Martino will be taken aback as far as deciding to go with Alvarez simply because of that. I think the timing is wrong for Alvarez. I don't think it's down to technique or ability. I simply think this decision is down to timing. Alvarez is just too much of a late bloomer as far as the 2022 World Cup is concerned. So for that reason, he's going to go with a solid choice in Jorge Sanchez.
Yeah, it's not a bad option, but I think this highlights something that I realized about Martino throughout all the qualifications is that he's not really down to be bold.
No.
He's not.
No.
He won't make the bold call. He won't take a risk. He's very safe, man.
Yeah.
Like, literally, he just looks at the names and he's just like, okay, whatever makes the most sense timing-wise, whatever makes the most sense quality-wise, that's who I'm going with. And I think that's the core of the issue here with the Mexican national team is that there's too little risk. I need a little bit of players here that can actually have a potential. What I'm seeing right now, I see nothing but a ceiling and a limitation. I don't see that with Jorge Sanchez, but I just wanted to point that out now because I think this highlights something about Martino that will eventually come to haunt him once the World Cup starts.
Well, let's not forget, bro, that's actually a really good point because, dude, halfway through the qualification, El Chaca Rodriguez was still starting. He was still playing. It took his form to fall off the face of the earth for Jorge Sanchez to even get a chance, bro.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that. So you're absolutely right. Martino is averse to big, bold changes, to change in general. And so even Jorge Sanchez is a relatively new right back for Mexico, man. Bro. So you're absolutely right in that take that Martino does not make big changes. And I'm just thankful that he saw that Chaka was finally not it, and then he is gonna go with Sanchez. I actually think that's a plus.
I feel like I'm a trauma victim, and I'm finally getting like my
It's a therapy.
Yeah, it's a therapy. Like, people are finally seeing what I've been seeing, man.
Yeah,
I'm like,
man.
God damn, man.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Absolutely.
Left side, on the other side, we also have a really similar conversation, man. And I'm going to just get straight to it. Gerardo Arteaga is playing for the best team in Belgium.
Yeah.
And he's starting every single game. And he's got himself a pocket full of assists, man.
Dude.
Start the damn kid.
Yeah.
Start him. Martino has tried starting him in the past, give him a few minutes. But, bro, in these goddamn friendlies, he is playing a proper wanker and Jesus Gallardo, bro.
Yeah.
Still,
Yeah.
to this day,
Yeah.
Jesus Gallardo is getting starts on the Mexican national team. I don't even know how to approach this one anymore, man.
Yeah.
I don't even know what else I can say at this point, man. Jesus Gallardo showed that he is not worthy of starting for the Mexican national team 27 months ago, man.
Yeah.
What are we doing giving this guy minutes? But once again, it goes back to the point. Martino can't be bold, bro.
Yes.
But sometimes that lack of boldness translates to just ignorance, man.
Yeah.
He's being ignorant because he gave Gerardo Arteaga minutes, but I don't think he gave them to him in the best situations. So in that moment, he saw him just kind of pull off a mediocre performance, and he was like, okay, I'm going to go with the guy who had a good 2018 4 years ago and give him the responsibility of what a youngster should be having right now. Yeah. Gerardo Arteaga, man, bro, if you're him, you're pissed because you're like, bro, I'm playing for a top team in Belgium right now, and I swear, if he starts Gallardo, bro.
Oh,
I swear.
sheesh.
I swear. I'm sending letters, I guess. I don't know what I'm sending, man.
Emails. This left back position is exactly why I am frustrated with Tata Martino, because you are absolutely right. Arteaga should have gotten solid starting minutes in games against like El Salvador, in games against like Jamaica, Costa Rica, even honestly, Panama. Anybody who's not the USA or Canada, even if he doesn't trust him, play him against those weaker sides where you know you're going to win. But dude, he was super against even that, bro. It's only recently that he's like, oh shit, I guess I should call Arteaga. You know, and that's frustrating. Yeah. And here's what's crazy. If the World Cup was in the summer, Arteaga would not be starting. It is, in my opinion, it is only because of his recent 2022 fall season form that Martino has no choice but to start Arteaga. And that's frustrating because Martino as a coach should know the talent and the potential of every single Mexican player on this planet. Mm-hmm. He should understand that because that's his job. All he should think about is the Mexican national team. But his inability to see the potential and the true talent of Gerardo Arteaga, that's damning for me, bro. Because dude, he's barely played realistically. Yeah. Realistically, he's gotten starts in friendlies, but only as of recently. And it's like, are you kidding me, bro? I think he scored a goal last week, and that's from a left back position.
Yeah, he did.
That's Arteaga, bro. That's what he can do. The amount of minutes he's gotten is criminal, bro. It's absolutely criminal. But Martino, at the end of the day, I think absolutely sees how well he's playing right now in Belgium, and I do think he's going to start him, but I hate how late it is. Because he should have been essentially starting the last entire half of qualification.
Yes, bro. And he gave him minutes in that friendly against Colombia, and he scored a goddamn goal. You remember that? With Alexis Vega feeding him?
Oh, yeah.
That was Arteaga, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, this is so goddamn frustrating, and it's annoying that these players have to do the absolute most in order to get a look from Gerardo Martino.
Right.
Man. When we go up to the midfield, and it's a conundrum. Oh,
yeah. I actually don't even know who other than one position, I don't realistically know who actually starts.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem.
That's fucking awful, man.
That's a bad problem.
That's my team you're talking about.
It's a bad problem.
Don't know who's going to start. And Machín Álvarez is starting.
Yeah.
And Machina's starting. He's at Ajax right now, and he's been there for a couple of years now, making that move from America. And if it'd be nice to just talk nice about a Mexican player once. So I would love to do that. I would love to do that for this man because this man has been the shining light for this team throughout these past 4 years with how he got included into the squad really young and has held his position there ever since, man. At Ajax, he's had really good seasons, being part of really good teams, especially last year. This year, the team is struggling more. If you look at how Edson has been playing, it's not really his fault. It's not really down to him. I think the Ajax squad as a whole has completely downgraded themselves from what they were these past few years.
Absolutely.
They're finally starting to run out of fumes. But if you're looking at Edson Alvarez, he's one of the bright lights in that midfield. And it's why he's been rumored to potentially make a move somewhere else, because that might be the time for him now. He's been there a few years. It's a classic Dutch to somewhere else bigger move. And it'd be great to see Edson be, I don't know, Manchester United's defensive midfielder.
yeah, exactly.
But the thing is, I do think he has a talent for it because he's the best player that Mexico has. I think so. When you look at the age, when you look at the form that he is in, like he's been the most consistent player from Mexico these past 4 years at the club level. And now he's going to be starting for Mexico at the center of the park. Thank God for that, bro. Because we mentioned it with USA and Tyler Adams. It's one of the most important positions. And if there's one guy that you want to have in the middle of the field, it's Edson Alvarez. My only thing with Machín Alvarez is that it has been so obvious that he needs the proper players around him to succeed.
I was going to say that, yeah.
And this Mexican national team has failed, and Tata too, to support him with the proper options beside him to succeed. Yeah. Because what we've seen if you saw only Alvarez at the national team, you'd be like, how is this guy in Europe? But it's because of how badly he's been supported, man. Even now, looking into the tournament, we don't know who's going to start beside him, bro. And that's an awful thing as outsiders, because that just shows to me the insecurity this midfield has. Yeah. For a while, it was looked at that it was going to be Héctor Herrera and Guardado, but bro, when you talk about age, getting to a player, let me show you Héctor Herrera, bro. My God. Yeah. Atletico's very own, now Houston Dynamo. This guy has fallen off a cliff, man.
He has.
And with Guardado, I think Guardado is just too old. Like, he's way older than Herrera.
He's so old.
He's just past it. And so I don't blame him. I respect Guardado for everything he's done. I can never harp on him. He is not the problem here whatsoever, but I just think his age has gotten to him. So he's out of the question for me. Who are you left with? Well, we have Charlie Rodriguez from Cruz Azul, who's basically the Antuna of midfielders for me, man. For a while, I thought he was going to be the guy, man. I thought he was going to be the guy.
He has moments. Yeah. That's the thing that's it, though. He has moments.
He had an incredible moment when they were in the FIFA Club World Cup, and he played so well against Liverpool, man.
Yeah.
He was passing out these balls from the midfield. I was like, oh, my God. Mexico has found their future midfielder. They're fucking Thiago, man.
Yeah.
And since then, no sort of progression. If anything, regression. Yeah. You look at other players like Guti. Eric Gutierrez, who's at PSV now.
This one gets interesting.
And this one's really interesting because last season he had a solid season. He was really good for this PSV squad. But then Ruud van Nistelrooy came in, started coaching the team, and Guti had to earn his minutes there. And he's been having to do that the start of this season. Luckily, it seems like Van Nistelrooy has finally started to instill that confidence in Guti. Yeah. It's about how he plays, bro. Yeah. His play style does not fit what needs to be put right beside Edson Alvarez, bro. Guti is one of the least creative players out there. If anything, he's another defensive midfielder, bro.
Yeah. But to an extreme.
Yeah,
to an extreme.
So to put that again next to Edson, like, there's no creativity there. There's no opportunity for action. So then I have to rule him out. Herrera, I have to rule him out. I mentioned the Pachuca guys, right? We had a discussion about Pachuca guys with Luis Chavez and Chiquito Sanchez potentially deserving a starting nod. Tata has given them that confidence going in, especially with Luis Chavez, but it's too late, bro. It's too late. Like, I love him in that left mid position right next to Alvarez, but I don't know, man. I wish he had more opportunities with the Mexican national team to be able to, I don't know, just build his confidence, build that chemistry with Edson.
That's it. It's not even about performing well. It's about just playing in the system.
Yes,
that's it.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. And so even if the right answers are Luis Chavez and Cordova, it's too fucking late, man. It's too late. There's no way that we can have a successful midfield when I compare it to the U.S., who has 3 European talents that have been playing alongside each other for the past 3 years. Yeah. There's no way that we can be successful in the midfield with this conundrum, bro. Nah. And so I'm left just helpless because this could be the most important part of the pitch for us, and we don't have any security going into it in the World Cup.
Yeah, so when I look at how Martino is going to line up this midfield, I've actually been trying to think like Martino a lot this last week.
For real.
I really have.
Yeah.
Of like who, because again, as we put it, it's a conundrum in this midfield. Realistically, there is no go-to guy other than Edson Alvarez. And so I try to put my mind in the same mind as Tata Martino because I want to know and I want to predict who will be the starting three in this midfield for Mexico, man. And so I'll start with Alvarez, obviously the only one that has a for sure starting position, but you stole the words from my mouth. I think the only way to get the best out of Alvarez is to maximize the positions next to him. And so when I think about that, well, first off, let me just give a little bit of praise to Alvarez, as you so rightly did.
Nice, man.
As you so perfectly did. I think Alvarez is a perfect defensive pivot. His proactivity in the center of the park is actually very, very good. He's excellent at reading the game right in front of him. You'll see him read wingers, make obvious passes in the center mid. That's where he comes into perfect effect. His job is to disrupt any sort of midfield play. He's not the most athletic. He's not the fastest player out there, but his ability to read the game is excellent. And then not only that, you couple that with the fact that he's very good on the ball, maybe not from a creative standpoint, but at least from the ability to hold the ball in the midfield and then give it off to more creative players. Alvarez is very, very good at that. But the thing is, due to his lack of, I think, in my opinion, athletic ability, you have to pair the right midfielders alongside him. In my opinion, I think you need an athletic midfielder next to him either side, and you need a creative midfielder either side of him to maximize his ability. Because once he gets that ball, he needs someone who can turn. He needs someone who can dribble, someone who can just penetrate. Or he needs someone who's going to cover him when he actually is trying to be proactive, go for a ball. He needs someone that can have the athletic ability to cover the space that Alvarez leaves.
Bro, he goes from having Berghaus to fucking Charlie Rodriguez.
And that's the thing. And that's the problem. And here's what's crazy. I think Charlie Rodriguez is going to start alongside Alvarez because I just don't see any other Mexican midfielder supplying the need that Tata Martino needs to maximize Alvarez. The only good thing I can say about Charlie is box-to-box mid. Similar to Tyler Adams, but only in the sense that he's athletic. Charlie rarely runs out of gas. And I think that is the type of midfielder that you want alongside Alvarez in that sense. Because if Charlie's at least has the IQ to understand when Alvarez goes for a ball, if he can cover that space, then that's great because he can do that for 90 minutes. Obviously, though, comparing Charlie Rodriguez, in my opinion, to Tyler Adams, dude, it's night and day, bro. It's night and day. I don't think Rodriguez has that IQ. I don't think he has the true talent, the ability to read the game that Adams does. And even then, I don't even think he has the technical ability. If I had to compare, I think Adams is genuinely a better passer of the ball. I think he's a way better passer of the ball. But at the end of the day, the only thing that Rodriguez does for Martino is he gives him that athletic ability that you have to have if you start Alvarez. So for that reason, I think you start a player like Charlie Rodriguez. Looking at other players that maybe could play alongside Alvarez, and you just don't get the same thing. If you start Eric Gutierrez, we already talked about it, way too defensive. You get nothing if you start Alvarez and Eric at the same time. It makes no fucking sense. It really doesn't. And same thing with Luis Romo. I think Romo is a very good defensive midfielder, and he can press the offense a little bit because he's a little bit more athletic. But if you're starting Alvarez, you need someone that can run box to box, and you only get that realistically with Charlie. So for that reason, I have Alvarez, Charlie starting, and then on the other side, oddly enough, even though he's barely gotten any playing time, I actually have Luis Chavez starting.
Thank you. I need that affirmation.
I have Luis Chavez starting, and notice I just don't see any reason that Herrera and Guardado start. I just don't. There's just no way that they can. You already said it. Herrera is completely past it. He's just not playing at the same level anymore. No disrespect, but he's just gone. There's no way he can start. I think he will get called up, but there's just no way that he can start at this World Cup. Guardado, I think probably could make minutes off the bench.
Yeah, I could see that.
I could actually
And I would
see
like
that.
that. I would like
yeah,
that.
yeah, why not? Yeah, especially if it's like 1-1 or
Yes.
it's like, or you're actually winning like 1-0, 2-1. You need Guardado to just shore up,
Please.
provide a veteran
Yeah,
experience
I
at
love that.
midfield. Absolutely. I think that actually would be a good move. But from a starting position, I think you actually have to play Liga MX winner Luis Chavez, man. What he provides is mobility, a little bit more creativity.
Yes.
What's a little bit frustrating though, man, is that Mexico truly don't have a creative midfielder, an attacking midfielder.
At the end of the day, we don't.
At the end of the day, you
Which
just
is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro.
Because like,
Yeah.
we're Mexico, man. Like,
Yeah, there's gotta be one-
There's got to be one player.
Yeah, but there
Luis
just
Chavez
isn't.
is the closest thing that we have to it.
I think so. As far as form is concerned, Luis Chavez is the closest that you have to a creative attacking midfielder. But even then, he really isn't that actually. At the end of the day, Chavez is just a very solid central mid that loves to roam. He's very offensive in the style of play, but he can do some dirty work too. And the thing is, I actually think Martino likes that because he at least at the end of the day, he can rely on all three midfielders, Chavez, Alvarez, and Rodriguez, to defend. And I think that's what Martino's more concerned about, bro. And we've seen it. We've already criticized Mexico. The biggest thing I think for Mexico is that they're just not creative. They don't attack. There's no fluidity. And I think Martino actually prefers that. He prefers his midfield to be more defensive-minded than offensive-minded. And I think Chavez is the best of both worlds at the very least. So I hope Martino sees that, and I do think he does. So for me, my starting mid is Chavez, Alvarez, and Rodriguez.
Yeah, man. Rodriguez is like what I like to call a Tata minion, bro. He's one of Tata's minions, man. I feel
think
like
so.
ever since the qualification started, like he set his mind to be like, Charlie's gonna be my guy.
Yeah.
It's why he's gotten so many opportunities throughout this whole cycle.
Yeah.
And I would say the same for like guys like Ochoa, guys like Araujo, I think, got a lot of minutes too.
He
Way
did.
too many minutes. And then up top, there's other guys like Antuna that I think would be considered as Tata minions. But overall, a Chavez, Alvarez, and Rodriguez midfield is interesting, man. It's interesting.
For me, it's okay at best.
Yeah, it's really interesting. There just really is no impetus for attacking the other side if you're going with that. You're immediately conceding from the get-go that you're gonna
sit back, maybe.
sit back a little bit, a little bit, and send
Yeah.
these long balls forward and see if the offensive options can do anything with it. It doesn't, at the very least, have the same excitement that those midfields of the past had, man. When you had a prime Guardado or a prime Hector Herrera or even a guy like Luis Montes from Leon that was
Montes
a part of like this really
possibly,
exciting attacking midfield option. Do you think there's any room in the midfield for, and this is more on Reynoso's picks, because I know Martino would never do this, but do you see any room for like maybe like Diego Lainez starting like in the midfield to provide more creativity?
For me, at the end of the day, just no, simply because of your first take, in the sense that Martino just does not make bold decisions. And starting a truly creative player in the midfield is something that Martino has not done even once.
Right, but outside of Martino, if we were to be able to tinker with the Mexican lineup ourselves.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, from Reynoso coaching perspective.
Yeah.
Do you think that actually would be somewhat productive?
Well,
is it too out of hand? Is it too
If
out
I
of
was
position?
if I was the coach of Mexico, I would have given Aldo Rocha a start 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I would have at least tried it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would have at least tried it. So there's a lot of things I would have done differently, bro. So we could go all day.
You have Shaggy Martinez starting at left back, bro. That's a
Maybe,
tune-out.
No, maybe. I'd have a lot of different ideas than Martino does, and I think that's at the end of the day why we both shared this frustration, bro. Because we just don't see any sort of decisions that even gets us a little hopeful for a creative midfield. Because, like I said, especially against that game against Canada in Canada, dude, that midfield was atrocious.
Yeah.
It was atrocious.
Eustachio had the game of his life against us, bro.
Yeah, it was so bad, man. They just couldn't hold on the ball. And when they did get the ball, as you said, it was just the only goal they had was lofted forward to the front three. And then at that point, you let them take care of the offense. Yeah. But that's not how you're going to win games.
Nah, man, the midfield would go on a smoke break the minute they fucking launch that ball forward, bro. And then up front, it gets equally as interesting.
This gets interesting too.
Because you could say Mexico has depth. You could say with the options that they have. I have 12 names, bro.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. All right, so I'll just get straight into it. This is who I think starts. In the winger position, Chucky Lozano has to start playing way too good. And finally, it's actually crazy that he's finding his form finally at Napoli heading into this tournament. It's actually wild because even just like 3 months ago, I was not this high on Chucky as I was, bro.
No.
As I am now, because he is playing for one of the hottest teams in Europe, if not the hottest team. And he's providing really valuable minutes, whether it's starting or coming off the bench.
Yeah, he's in true rotation. True rotation.
But like a really productive rotation because if you look at his numbers, they're not as impressive as his PSV numbers or even as his best. I think he had a really good season like 2 years ago with Napoli. He isn't quite there yet. I think he only has like a goal and 2 assists or something like that. But his impact, his value, it's immeasurable right now because he's part of this really fluid, oiled system that is providing the best results in all of world football. So like to me, that's just like, and I've said it before, if your name has the Napoli badge next to it, then you have my full confidence. And I got to apply that to my boy Chucky Lozano. So thank God, because he is one of the most, he's like the Energizer bunny of this Mexican team. In the terms of the team, but also the fans, bro. El Chucky Lozano. Like he is the guy for everyone in Mexico. He's the most recognizable player right now, probably at this point. If you have a good Chucky Lozano going into the World Cup, that's a really good sign, man. That's really something that can't be underestimated. Likewise, you have Chivas de Guadalajara, el rebaño sagrado, very own, Alexis Vega starting. That's who I predict. Because, bro, he got the opportunity to get that start in the forward position against Colombia. He showed out, man.
I think so.
He showed out. And you know, the thing about Tata's approach to the game is that, yes, he puts you in really bad positions to show out, but if you do it, then he's going to buy into it. He's going to be like, oh, okay, good. And Alexis Vega knew that. And he fucking had a game that was worth a starting position in the World Cup. And given how he's performed these past 2-3 years for Chivas, I think, and I've been saying it, Alexis Vega is one of the best players in Liga MX. He's one of the next Mexican players set up to go to Europe to play at a bigger club. And with the form he ended the Liga MX season with, I think he has to be the immediate replacement for what was going to be Tecatito Corona's spot. Talk about Tecatito Corona real quick. Saddens me that my boy with the kiss tattoo on his neck won't be at the tournament, man, because he is the most flair-based player on Mexico, the most unafraid to try new things on the squad, creative, imaginable. Sometimes it didn't work out, but for me, it was the approach to the game that Tecatito Corona had that I really appreciated. His ability to send a really good ball in, to have an assist, to make decisions on a counterattack, I thought was really important and is one of the most important skill sets to what Tecatito Corona has to offer. That injury he had is just detrimental, man. Detrimental. We've talked about it. I can't imagine how sad Tecatito Corona must be because he is in the prime age right now to be playing his best football. He's not able to save the Sevilla team that is in the fucking gallows right now.
Oh, yeah, they're doing terrible.
And even more so, he won't be able to provide any sort of offensive excitement for this Mexico team that could absolutely use it. So I'm sad for Tecatito, man. If you're hearing this, Tecatito, I mean, I've always wanted to meet you, man. I really hope you're listening to the Give and Go podcast. But regardless, man, my sincere condolences because it's unfortunate that he's missing this World Cup. And what sucks more is that he really did fulfill a need that Mexico will eventually miss.
Yeah, I want to say just a couple things on Tecatito. You already put it perfectly, so I'll keep this short. Absolutely. Tecatito is one of the truly flair-based players in this Mexican side. Even, I would honestly say, even more so than Chucky Lozano, right? And I think that means something because there's always been at least one player who just says, I'm going to try things. I'm going to go at these defenses. And even if it doesn't work, I don't care. And that's what I've always loved about Mexico in these past World Cups because there's always at least one player that just shines, that has incredible offensive displays. And it may not lead to anything, but it's so entertaining to see. And I think Corona would have provided that for Mexico, especially since he's, 28 or 29 years of age. And that's what hurts me. What really, really hurts me is not that he's missing this World Cup, but the fact that he's missing this World Cup in the last stage of his prime. In the sense that, sure, he might be at the next World Cup, and he probably will be, but he'll be 33, you know, and a big part of Corona's game has been his athleticism, his pace on the ball. And, once you get past 30 or 31, that goes away a little bit.
Especially for his style of play.
Exactly.
It's really
tough. And so not only just for us Mexico fans, but I think for the world in general, for USA rivals, it's going to be a true miss that Corona's not going to be at this World Cup.
Dude, I'm saddened by it, but likewise, there's a golden opportunity here for a young Alexis Vega to take over and potentially be that guy. But the thing is, there's other nominees, and I'm not 100% sure that Tata will go with Vega. I do think that if I had to put my money on it, I would put Vega, but listen to these options, man. Another one of Tata's minions, bro, Alvarado from fucking Chivas.
Dude.
No,
Yeah.
Do you want to go in or should I go in?
No, you go,
Who?
please.
Because this dude is banking his whole career off of a mohawk, man. This dude has nothing to offer to the game of football, bro. I'm serious. I don't see it with him.
Yeah,
I don't.
On an elite level, I've never seen Alvarado truly do anything.
I think he had a good first season in Liga MX.
No, yes, his first season with Cruz Azul was genuinely good. Genuinely good. But after that, I just haven't seen the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't seen it either. And it's ridiculous to me that he continues to get this trust internationally. It's nuts to me. And the same thing goes for that motherfucker, Carlos Antuna, man. Uriel Antuna.
Yeah.
I have a vendetta against this guy because I don't see it. I don't see it. I refuse to see it. Every time I see this guy plays, I don't see why people even give him the time of the day, man.
Yeah.
He is so unproductive. His output is ass, bro.
Yeah.
Absolutely ass. I'm serious. If you look at the amount of minutes Antuna gets compared to other Liga MX players, there's no reason for why he should even be getting a starting position in the Liga MX league. But for some reason, he's getting these call-ups from Tata Martino to be the guy in the winger position.
Yeah.
My God, bro. If you look at his fucking... what do you call it? Trash lights? When they the opposite of highlights? From the playoffs. It is awful, man. Awful.
Yeah,
golden
there's
balls.
no productivity.
Golden balls being sent into him. And for me, the thing is, Antuna has an incredible knack to be in great positions. He's like me in FIFA, man. Incredible ability to be in just the best positions. You see an open guy and you're like, oh, let me hand it off to him because he's going to score the goddamn
wide
goal.
open, yeah.
That's who I am on FIFA. That's who Antuna is in real life.
Yeah.
But the moment that ball lands at his feet, the worst outcomes happen, man.
Yeah.
It's awful. A bad touch. It goes too long. The shot completely wide, not even on target. The weirdest decision making. Might even decide to pass it off. I'm like, bro, what does this guy have to offer? But yet, Tata Martino just sees something in him that I don't.
Yeah.
He must see something that I don't because the amount of minutes that he's gone, he's one of Tata Martino's minions. I continue that trend. The amount of minutes he gets is unreal for what we need from that position. We have other options and Diego Lainez perhaps, but my thing with Lainez, bro, I wish he just hasn't done it at club level. Especially with this move to Braga.
Hasn't worked out.
Has convinced me that Lainez can't figure it out, man.
Yeah.
He can't. I actually would advocate for him to come back to Liga MX because he cannot figure it out, bro. He can't. Like, Braga has not worked out. Real Betis, for the amount of years he was there, didn't work out, bro. What else do you want then, man?
I need him to go to a truly lower level European league. I'm talking about the Netherlands, maybe Belgium, hell, even Greece, Denmark, if we want to get there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Lainez right now should be playing in the top 5, top 6 leagues. Maybe he could, but he's got to play with a low-level team, a low-level team.
I think what he definitely needs is a team where he starts every game.
Right.
That's what he needs.
That's where he'll maximize the potential.
He hasn't had that since America.
Since
bro.
America, yeah.
So that is a fair point, but still, like, going into this World Cup,
Oh, no.
I can't instill my confidence, man. I can't.
Yeah, so I want to start with El Chucky Lozano. It really is interesting because I really don't have to say anything. You said exactly what I think about both winger sides, honestly to a T, but I'll just kind of echo it with a little bit of my perspective in the sense that, so Lozano, you're absolutely right. His impact at Napoli this year has honestly been really impressive and a shining light that I think he can bring to this Mexican side. I see him playing a very similar role to Christian Pulisic in the sense that he's going to lead this offensive
He's
line.
better.
We'll see.
I just want to see a reaction.
We'll see. But I think Lozano's ability this year, dude, he's coming into this World Cup on pretty high confidence. And if this World Cup was a year ago or even 6 months ago, I don't think we'd be saying the same thing. We'd be saying Lozano's club record's a little spotty. He's not getting the minutes he deserves at Napoli. But this year, Lozano he's really thrown it in training, I guess. Like, he's really shown the coach, like, look, play me even off the bench. I'll give you good minutes. I got you. And the coach has seen it.
Yeah.
He's coming in. He's starting every other game at the very least in rotation. He's truly a part of this Napoli side, even though he's not starting every single game. And this is the best outcome I think you could have, is looking at Chucky Lozano in his past 2 years in Europe. So for him to be going into the World Cup like this, I think is a huge positive. And it's interesting because the way I see Lozano's role specifically for this Mexican side is the way I saw Chicharito's in 2018. I saw Chicharito as kind of like the veteran, the guy of like, I've been at the World Cup before. I was here in 2014. I was a youngster in 2010. I will lead you guys on this offensive line here in 2018. And we saw it. Chicharito was super vocal.
He was that.
Super vocal, just like telling players like, hey, let's push, let's press, or give me the ball, or hey, on the ground, or whatever. Chicharito was so vocal in 2018, the most we've ever seen him, but it's because he had that experience. When we look at who's going to be across from Chucky Lozano this fall, bro, I think Chucky Lozano is probably easily the most experienced player at this type of elite level.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So I think Lozano is actually going to take that role. He's going to be like, look, I got you guys. Look to me to be the ball handler. Look to me to be in space. I'm flying high with Napoli right now. I'm feeling really good. So I got you. I'm going to lead this line from a winger perspective. And I honestly, I think that's what Mexico need. They need a guy to look to. We said that the defense is, it's kind of new. There's a lot of new faces. Can we really trust anybody? Obviously, we can trust Ochoa at the back for sure. But in that midfield, we already said how spotty that midfield is. But I think Lozano can be that truly shining light in this entire Mexico 11 where you just look to him and you'd be like, all right, Lozano, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I think Lozano, the way he's playing right now, I especially at his age too, because he's not young anymore, truly. He's in his prime. He knows the status and the level of football. He's been playing in Europe for years now. I think this is Lozano's chance to shine and to lead this Mexican side offensively. So for me, that's really exciting.
I get excited thinking about the wingers if it's going to be Lozano and Vega, because Vega has the same approach to this team that Lozano had like 4 years ago.
I was just going to say that too.
Vega is so aggressive, but fearless as well.
Yes.
So I think it's a really positive thing to look at, because now you have like a leader in Lozano, an emotional leader.
Yes.
But then you have an equally hungry player in Vega that likewise can create an opportunity out of nothing. And that's what Mexico might actually have to rely on when it comes to scoring goals, is that one Vega chance or that one Chucky Lozano chance. I'm not sure if it'll go in, but bro, the way the World Cup goes, you'll always get one opportunity per game. And if these two guys are the ones you're relying on to score, I don't feel that worried. I really don't. I think these guys are going to step the fuck up.
Yeah.
I've seen it before with Lozano. Can Vega be that guy to match him?
Yeah, and just to talk a little bit about Vega, I do think Vega is going to start on that right side. I really do. Simply because I think he prepared for the interview against Colombia for Martino, and I think he passed it. I think he got the job essentially at the end of the day, even though they lost that game. But that's due to the midfield and the defense, bro.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was terrible. But anyway, talking about offensively, I think Vega passed with flying colors, bro. But not only that, you said it before, dude, his club form for Chivas has been incredible. He has led that offensive line at 24 years of age, and I think that's another telling point, is that he's 23, 24, bro. He's just now entering his prime, and as you said it, he's hungry, and you can see it. He doesn't know how good he truly is, and you're right. For me, he will play the role that Lozano played in 2018 in the sense that he does not care who he's playing against. He's just happy to start at the World Cup. And when I look at the track records of all of the other wingers, you already said it, Antuna, Lainez, Alvarado, when you compare him to the rest of those wingers, it has to be Vega. Just simply from a productive output, Vega has led Chivas' offensive line this apertura. I think Martino has seen that, and that's why he called him up for the Peru-Colombia matches, and that's why he started him against Colombia. And like I said, Vega passed that test, and I think it earned him a spot to start in place of Corona, who is injured.
Center forward position is super interesting, but I'm going to just come straight to it. Henry Martin should start. I'm saying
I agree.
I'm saying it now because the debate here is really between Henry Martin and Raul Jimenez. You could throw in Santi Jimenez if you'd like. Maybe a shout for Marcelo Flores. I was so high on that kid like 6 months ago, man.
Yeah.
But that missed penalty took everything out of me, man. It took everything out. So it brings it down to 3 options. Santi Jimenez, Martin, and Raul Jimenez.
Yes,
But
I agree.
here's the interesting thing is that Raul Jimenez is going in and out of injuries, bro. Yeah. And not just that, bro. He has not been able to match the height that he reached like 3-4 years ago with Wolves, where he scored like 15, 17 goals in the Prem. He hasn't been able to reach that since then. Even when he was healthy, he started to dip a little bit. He got like 10, 11, and then it started going into single digits. I actually think Jimenez is in a little bit of a decline.
Yeah.
And I don't think people want to talk about it because he kind of is our go-to guy up there, or at least was throughout this whole qualification cycle.
Right.
And likewise, bro, he barely produced throughout the qualification. Barely. Really good at linking up, really good at holding the ball up and being in good positions. But when you talk about output, there's nothing to show for it, man. And at the time, I blamed it on just his options, like his help. It was really bad. No one was really servicing him. But then there were games where I would look at Jimenez and be like, could we not have gotten more out of that position if we started a guy like Santi Jimenez, for example, a younger player, 21 years old, Cruz Azul at the time? Would it have not been more worth it to start him in that position? But Tata kept going with his minion, Raul Jimenez.
Yeah.
And I just don't think it's worked out, man. I don't think he's a solution. I don't think he's the type of striker that works best with this system, because when Henry Martin would get the minutes, there would actually be some sort of production.
Yeah.
And when you look at the club level, Henry Martin just had the season of his life, bro.
13 goals in like 20 appearances. That's insane.
That's insane. That's insane. That's insane. You can throw in a Man City goal that he got.
Throw it in there.
He has been incredible.
Yeah.
For like the past 6 months, to the point that I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
If Raul Jimenez is injured, if he ain't about it,
Exactly.
then Henry Martin, you're my guy. You've got my confidence. You've got my trust. Luckily, I think that Martino sees that.
I do too.
Because there's output, bro. There's output. I remember he saved us actually during, I think it was like an El Salvador game, Panama.
Yeah.
He got a game-winning goal for us during qualification, maybe Jamaica. Whoever it was, though, I was like, Martin stepped up.
Yeah.
So if there's any guy that has shown that he absolutely deserves a starting position, that center forward striker position, it has to be Henry Martin. Outside of that, the only other guy I could consider is Santi Jimenez, who had a little good streak a few weeks ago. Had a little streak of where he didn't get to start his games, but he would come off the bench. He would score these goals, and specifically Europa League for Feyenoord. But I don't know, man. There's just, I need a little bit more. I need to see him win the starting position at Feyenoord. I need to see him kind of get more confidence in himself outside of just being a bench player that is a spark.
Right.
And so ultimately, I have Henry Martin starting, and I think that that's who should start. And it is who I think Martino will eventually pick.
Yeah, I mean, I have very little to add because that is, again, exactly what I wanted to say. I think Martin's form is too good to ignore. Again, 13 goals in 21 appearances, making a semifinal appearance in the Liga MX Apertura, and he was a big part of why America's offense was truly effective, was truly productive. Martin literally just had the semester of his career, and what form to do it in than right before the World Cup. So I think I do think that Martino sees that, and the thing is, I think it makes it easier due to the circumstances of all the other strikers. I'll go through them. You just said about Raul Jimenez. He's been very injured as of recently, and unfortunately, that is just working against him. And you couple that with the fact that he just didn't really output during this qualification cycle, then I think it makes it even easier to kind of rule out Raul Jimenez. And that is frustrating, though, because if you had a peak Raul Jimenez who was not injured, who was truly playing just as good as he was at club level for Mexico, then you'd have the perfect number 9. You'd have the perfect apparent heir to Chicharito. And unfortunately, you're just not going to get that. And that's just, I think, down to circumstance. And it's, in my opinion, very unlucky for Jimenez and for Mexico as a whole. It is unfortunate that Jimenez did not turn out to be the true number 9 that maybe Mexico probably deserved in Jimenez, but it's just not going to happen. And then we go to Santi Jimenez, right? I agree. I think his form for Feyenoord is way too spotty. He's really realistically only playing maybe bench minutes at best. And when he does play, he's not really scoring that much. So for me, it's in a similar way, kind of like Kevin Alvarez. I think Santi Jimenez has an incredible ceiling that he could reach. Unfortunately, for 2022 World Cup, it's too early in his development. It is too early. Maybe by 2026, he's playing somewhere in Italy, scoring 20 goals a season.
Yeah,
we don't know. We absolutely don't know. He's so young. He has so much potential. Right now, he is so early in his European career that it's just the timing's not right for him to be the guy for Mexico here in the 2022 World Cup. So I don't see Santi Jimenez even really playing a big role. Maybe he comes off the bench in the 90th minute for corner kicks or something. The only other player that I actually do see being called up, and not to start, but would be Rogelio Funes Mori.
No, don't do this to me.
yeah.
this to me, bro.
He's going. He already got called in the preliminary squad.
Oh, no.
And obviously the ex-Argentine, now Mexican. But the thing is, the only thing going against Funes Mori is truly his age. He has not aged that well. I think he's 31, which isn't that bad, but it's really gone against him. Maybe he just has bad genes. I don't know what it is. But if this was Funes Mori 4 years ago, okay, I actually think he would start. Because Funes Mori in his prime was top 2 strikers in Liga MX. But unfortunately, he's not that anymore. He's a little past his prime, and it definitely shows. He's not as lethal as he once was. His athleticism has declined, and overall, his general spacing has dwindled. So I think Funes Mori can maybe supply minutes off the bench at best. But again, compare all of the guys I just said to Henry Martin, and it is very clear that Martino has to start Martin. His form is just way too good to ignore. He is truly scoring week in, week out.
There it is.
And so I have Martin as the number 9 for Mexico in this World Cup.
Dude, imagine if Tata actually looked up on YouTube Mexico preview and analysis, and I don't know, just watch this, man.
There's no way, because I bet he has an oath of like, I can't look at media. I can't look at any criticisms. He has to just believe in himself as a coach.
You don't think he uses YouTube, bro?
I wouldn't. If I was a coach, I'd be like, I can't listen to anybody other than myself and my staff.
But what if he goes home and his kid is like watching YouTube videos on TV, man? And he's like, hey, papá, estoy viendo un video de las predicciones de México. And we just pop up, and he hears he hears this shit.
Yeah.
You don't think we could get to him?
That is crazy, though, because Zendejas did not get chosen in the preliminary squad, which is crazy because obviously America had a very good apertura in general. Yes, they did not make it to the final, but Zendejas, bro, had 7 goals as a winger. 7.
That's a lot, bro.
That's a lot. His main job is to create, I'd say 4 or 5 goals max. He got a couple more than what he was supposed to do. That is incredible. And he's just not even going to get the call up, man. And it's a little depressing. I think it's a bad decision. And especially since the idea that the U.S. actually could nab him in the future too. That is stunning that Martino just won't go like, well, come on.
Let's entertain it.
Let's
man.
entertain the idea.
Ego there,
I do think so. And we already said it at the very beginning of this preview. I think there's some very questionable decisions that Martino is making. But I think, honestly, I think the players that we've picked, I do think it'll be the players that Martino goes with.
Yeah.
Whether it's the right decision or not, we'll get to see on that first match day.
But it's crazy having a coach that isn't from Mexico coaching Mexico.
Yeah.
That always just makes me feel weird, man. And especially when it comes to a situation like this where like the fans get so involved, like it almost feels wrong, man. Even with Osorio, he wasn't Mexican either. Like when is Mexico gonna dive into a really strong Mexican coach? Zucca Ferretti never really wanted to take that opportunity. It interests me, man. It really fascinates me how we've gone with non-Mexican coaches these past like 8 years now, man.
That's a really good point, man, because when I look at like the Mexican coaching landscape in Liga MX, obviously, I'd say the only guy right now that could take it would be Nacho Ambriz, Toluca's coach. Obviously, he had a really bad final, but but he's had success.
But he got him there. Yeah,
but he got him there.
Yeah,
he got him there, and he's had success with other clubs too. Leon and America too. So Ambriz has had a lot of success with multiple Liga MX clubs. He could be the guy, but come time when Martino's done, is Ambriz going to be that guy? I don't know. And it's just frustrating because there are so many good coaches in Liga MX, but unfortunately, none of them are realistically Mexican,
really
bro.
are, yeah.
I mean, Almada's Argentine, Nicolas Larcamon, who has done incredible things with Puebla, bro. This Puebla team should never make playoffs. Never. But they make playoffs every single year that he's been in charge.
Nicolas, baby.
Larcamon, Uruguayan, man. Like, what can you do, bro? Liga MX attracts a lot of good talent. Unfortunately, a lot of it just isn't Mexican. At what point will we actually get a very good Mexican coach? I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Let's make some predictions, bro. Let's get these
Let's get in
predictions,
there.
man, because we've talked about this Mexican team. And funny enough, I feel like you've actually talked about it much more optimistically than I have.
Honestly, at the end of the day, I'm actually very happy that we pretty much agree on every point.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised.
And I'm happy, man.
I'm surprised. Bro, when I look at Group C with Argentina, Saudi Arabia, and Poland,
Be honest.
I can be honest.
Be honest.
I can be honest. I can absolutely be honest. Thank God the quality of the teams outside of Argentina isn't convincing. We've talked about it already. Poland is one of the weakest, if not the weakest, European team. There's an argument there between them and Wales.
Yep.
Saudi Arabia could be one of the best AFC teams, but at the end of the day, it's still an Asian squad, and they're not known to have really prominent World Cups.
Very true.
Mexico comes into this group being one of the most historically successful teams when it comes to making it out of the group stage. Yes, they're having a very, very questionable lead up to the tournament. One that I've expressed my absolute concern for. One that I've said, Jesus Christ, this is awful. This is horrifying. This is a horror movie. This is one of the worst things I've seen from the Mexican squad, if not the worst thing I've seen.
Yeah.
If they were in any other group where there was some sort of formidable talent in that group outside of the top nation, I'd probably say Mexico wouldn't make it out. If anything, I'd say Mexico get third or fourth, bro. Mm-hmm. But we're put in a group now where we have two teams that I'm not convinced can beat us, man. When we're talking about a Poland versus Mexico match where a lot of history will come into play, but also just the moment, the timing of it. Who can step up and win that match? I'm going on an opinion based on grit, man. I think that Mexican grit outweighs the Polish grit, man. I genuinely do. I don't know if the Polish have it in them to win an initial first game in the tournament that is pivotal to their group stage progression. I don't know because the thing is, I've never seen it from a Polish team in the World Cup.
I haven't either.
Never, bro. Yeah. A team that has shown that has its limitations, a team that has shown that in Nations League they are struggling very bad right now and are going into the tournament low on confidence. I don't see why I should think that Mexico can't make it out. I don't see enough of a reason to think that, Poland's going to take it to Mexico. Poland's going to be able to dominate this Mexican team and show that they're the better side. It'll be a 50-50 type of game, and it'll be a match that will ultimately be decided by the emotion and who wants it more. It'll come down to like almost a primal instinct, man. And when it comes to primal instincts, man, Mexicans are top of that shit, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
man. Absolute competitors when it comes to the game. And then you follow that out with Saudi Arabia. We talked highly about Saudi Arabia, man. We really did. We mentioned how incredible qualification cycle they had, how after 2018 they're coming back into this tournament looking for revenge, looking for a way to avenge their demons of the past. And like I said, I'm hopeful that they are actually able to do that. If they eventually outweigh Mexico and beat them, I wouldn't be too sad because that's an incredible story. But let's be realistic, brother. I'm actually going to use that approach here. And I never do that on the give and go. Let's be real, bro. Let's be real. Until history tells me otherwise, Mexico wins that matchup. I don't know if I'm just being manipulative here or... But what I'm getting at, bro, and you can call it delusion, you can call it blind patriotism, I don't care, man. But all I've seen is Mexico qualify out of the group stage every single time that I've been alive and the World Cup has been happening. And I'm going to stick to that pattern. Mexico makes it out of this group. They defeat, or at the very least tie Poland, thus setting themselves up to potentially get a win against Saudi Arabia, put up a respectable match against Argentina. Shit, if we can even get a point out of that match, that'd be a dub. And we're getting out of this fucking group. Mexico's going to the round of 16, and it'll be the proudest I'll ever be to have a round of 16 exit, brother. Because we are losing in that round of 16. But for me, the World Cup will be getting out of this goddamn group, bro. And goddamn it, we will, man. We will. Mexico makes it out of the group. We lose in the round of 16. That's my prediction.
So we know the frustrations that I have with this Mexico side. We know the few shining lights that I've given this Mexico team. I'm going to go ahead and say this. I think they are in the easiest group out of all 8 groups in this tournament.
Ooh.
And it actually kind of couples with your idea in the sense that, dude, if Mexico was in any other group, bro, I think it'd be a little bit harder to see them get out of this group stage. I think it'd be a little bit harder to see them get out. So at the end of the day, I see Mexico, honestly, is pretty lucky. As you say, I'm going to go with that idea that I think the fact that Mexico is in a group with a weak Polish side and an unaccomplished Saudi Arabia side, and a very good Argentina side, there are 2 sides that Mexico can look at and be like, okay, we can beat these teams. Obviously, those being Poland and Saudi Arabia. Now, all of that being said.
Oh, give it to me. Come on.
And I want to make this very, very clear. This is going to be the only decision where I actually put emotion into it. I'm going to take a very biased take here. And this will be the only one. Whether it's surprising to any viewers who have watched all of our previous takes, all of my previous takes have been unbiased. I look at it the way I see it, every position pound for pound, the way that they're playing at club level, the way that they translate that to international stage. I've always taken an unbiased point of view. For my Mexico prediction, I'm going to do the exact opposite. It will be the only team that I will actually put bias and emotion into what I'm about to say. Mexico are going to tie Poland, 1 point. They're going to lose against Saudi Arabia, and they're going to lose against Argentina. Mexico will have an embarrassing World Cup and finish with 1 point. I want and I need Mexico to have a very bad World Cup simply because I need them to do well in 2026. I think the only way that Mexico do well in 4 years' time is by having a dismal performance in 2022.
Whoa.
The way that the USA rebounded after not even making 2018 has shown me that teams can change. People can change, man.
Damn, bro.
And I don't think Mexico, and I'm not even talking about the team, I'm talking about the people, the way the media views them, the way that the public, the overall average Mexico fan views this team. The only way that changes is if Mexico put on a poor display in 2022.
I disagree.
And that's fair, but that's how I see it. Mm-hmm. The only way I see it, I need Mexico to have a very, very bad performance. And it's not even the fact that I want them to have a bad performance. It's actually, I think they have the ability to have a very bad World Cup. Seriously, they could tie Poland, and I think that's very realistic. If Saudi Arabia play at the heights that they've reached in Asian qualification and they take that against a indecisive Mexico side.
They'll be at home too, bro.
Yes, that's another thing. They'll be playing in that desert, in that region where they know quiet, very well.
They are not quiet people, man. We saw that in qualifying. They are loud fan base.
Exactly. They take that to Mexico. I can see Saudi Arabia winning. And Mexico playing Argentina, well, just from a technical perspective, I think Argentina will win that game. Realistically, and this is not even from like a pure emotion, it's a little emotion. I see Mexico finishing with 1 point, brother. And not only do I see that happening, but yes, I'm gonna go ahead and take that emotional step. I think that will happen. I want it to happen, and I think it will be for the overall good for this Mexico side. Look, at the end of the day, my take is positive.
Yeah.
In the short term, it's very negative.
Realm.
Yes, yeah, exactly. In the short term, it's very negative. But overall, I think the only way Mexico has a good 2026 here in Mexico and in the United States is if they have a terrible 2022.
Yeah, man, I actually really understand that perspective. A World Cup disappointment like that,
Dude,
really forces you to
shocking.
undergo a rebuild.
Yes.
More than anything else out there.
Exactly.
Even losing the Gold Cup to the U.S., losing
Yeah.
3 games in a row to the U.S.,
Yeah, man.
it isn't going to do shit to us.
No.
But losing in a really bad fashion in the World Cup would do that. It would ultimately do that. And like you said, your ultimate idea is good and that you want us to have a really successful 2026 tournament. My disagreement, though, is that I don't think that's the best method to maximizing this Mexico squad, because I don't think Mexico would actually be that hurt by making a round of 16 appearance this time around and then ultimately having to rebuild anyways. I think without question, no matter what happens, Tata isn't making it past the tournament, man.
Yeah.
Unless he wins the goddamn World Cup for us, he is getting fired. And he even said it himself that he's set to leave the position once the tournament ends. So there's almost already an understanding of there's going to be a rebuild. And I think a lot of it starts with getting rid of the head of the snake, with Tata Martino going out. Yeah. That in itself will set off a really important rebuild. Will it be as extreme as what would happen if we completely disappointed a World Cup? That's something I don't know. But I do think that we don't have to go through that. I don't think we have to experience that, because still making a round of 16 appearance, getting out, Tata getting fired, still incites us to be like, okay, we haven't made that 5th game. For us, that's the standard. So we have to figure things out. We have to change things up. It really does, for me, come down to the federation. I wonder how the Mexican Federation sees all these things playing out and what they ultimately hope for and what they ultimately think. Because, bro, the more I hear about the Federation of Mexico, the more corrupt, the more shit that I hate hearing comes up, man. Because it sounds like they almost are too enticed with ticket sales, with simply qualifying, with the bare minimum.
The bare minimum.
I don't know if a World Cup disappointment would activate that, but it might. It might.
I think it would.
You think it would?
And again, let me make this very clear for you and for my audience. I understand what I'm saying is very extreme, but it's to the point where I do want it to happen. I said I'm coupling my take with emotion. It's the only take that I'll have coupled with emotion. I want this to happen because I want to see every single Mexican pundit trash this team. I want to see them have a breakdown because, as you said, dude, no Mexican fan that's like under the age of 60 has ever seen Mexico perform poorly.
No.
And that is insane. And it's testament to how good Mexico has been. But the way I've seen this team play, I want true change. You talk about corruption, you talk about complacency in the federation. The only way that changes is if Mexico have a terrible World Cup, in my eyes. Obviously, you're right. Mm-hmm. You're right. I will give a little here in the sense that maybe if Mexico do put on a good performance, it can actually build them to have a better 2026, especially if they get a new coach, right? I actually do agree with that, but I want a little bit something more extreme. And that's why I'm going to stand by my decision. And I do think the results that I laid out for Mexico, I do think they're actually very realistic, bro. I'm not even saying that from just like, I want them to lose. I actually think they can lose against Saudi and against Argentina. And I think they, at best, they could maybe draw against Poland, bro. Yeah. And I think that's very realistic. And the fact that I think that's realistic makes me even want it to happen a little bit more. Yes, it's a little sadistic. Yes, it's a little, maybe a little fucked up. I understand that. But I think it's the only way that the masses of the Mexican population can see the dire situation that I see, bro. Because I truly don't think that a lot of Mexican people see this team the way that I see them, bro. I really don't think so.
I don't know. I think a lot of people are pessimistic about that.
I think there's pessimism, but I do think that a lot of people still see this team dominating in Saudi Arabia.
That I do agree with. I agree with that.
It's true domination.
People do think that,
and I'm just like, well, Saudi Arabia just had the most successful Asian qualification.
That comes from people not knowing about Saudi Arabia, though. I don't think it's about Mexico. I think people underestimate Saudi. That's a good point. People underestimate Saudi Arabia. It's Saudi Arabia, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But even I know that they are quality.
Yeah, absolutely. But I want people to understand that, look, Mexico has to change something. In my eyes, Mexico has to change something.
Yeah.
And for the USA, it was not qualifying. Mm-hmm. For Mexico, luckily enough, They don't have to go through something like that. Imagine, bro, if Mexico wasn't in this World Cup, bro.
Oh, that'd be hell. That'd be hell.
Fortunately, Mexico don't even have to go through that. I don't think Mexico will ever miss a World Cup, if I'm being honest. But I think something like this, not even getting out of the group, has to happen. I think there's a good chance that it will happen. Truly.
I do see that.
And so for me, that is my take. And I'll add this. No team has ever won the World Cup with a foreign manager.
Yeah.
And so Tata is not going to be it, bro.
Nah, we're not winning, bro.
I don't even think you're going to get close, man. But you already said that by round of 16 is probably where you end it. And yeah, I agree. If Mexico do get out, I don't see them going past round of 16. And sure, I'll lean with you a little bit. They can get out of this group. If they really tap into that gene of we can play against our opponents, we can win tight games, then sure, I think Mexico can get out of this group. It is the easiest group in the World Cup, sure. If they don't, I do think it'll be a true calamity. But at the end of the day, my prediction is I don't think they'll get out.
Yeah, I wonder if extremity is necessary. That's my thing because, like you said that for the U.S. it was necessary, right?
I do think it was.
But what if the U.S. doesn't make it out of the group? Where's the progress there? And then in 2026, they don't make it out of the group then.
That'll be my take. That'll be my take.
Right?
That would be my take. Is that I think for the USA, and yes, obviously I have a slight bias, of course, and I have to be aware of that. But look, the USA, I think what they've built is something completely different than they've ever built before. So for me, that is progress. When I look at this team, I'm like, okay, this is true quality. I love the way that this team plays. That equals progress in my eyes. So even if we don't get out of this group here in 2022, I'll still be like, look, we had a good run. Now we can build for 2026. And in 2026, mark this date, I will expect nothing less than maybe quarterfinals, bro. The way that I see this USA trajectory, I see nothing but success. And I'm talking about top 8 finish. So yes, I see this USA team doing very, very well. Maybe not right now, but I will put the pressure on them in 2026 to be truly counted as successful. Martino had the option to start Arteaga 18 months ago. He had that ability. He had the ability to start players like Juan Pablo Vigón, like Aldo Rocha, at least to experiment in the midfield. And a midfield that was so lackluster for the entire qualification. So I think there's a lot of misses in this Mexico Federation, but we've already hit those points, bro. I think the Federation realistically should have seen this a year ago and either talk to Martino to demand him to start new talents or to bring in a new coach. We've seen other federations do exactly that. Mexico have refused to do it because of complacency, in my opinion, because of arrogance. And the only way that the Federation sees otherwise is through a dismal World Cup appearance.
Actually, I actually really do agree with that because something needs to be done if we end up just exiting in round of 16. That'll be 8 straight tournaments of round of 16 exits, man. I wonder if the Federation, I don't think they would, and I think that's why they are complacent, would ever consider that maybe things need to be switched up in order for us to get to that 5th game. Because, bro, 8 times in a row where we don't get to that 5th game, like, Jesus Christ, man. At that point, I'm all for a complete rebuild. Like, it has to be done. Despite how good we're doing to get to this round of 16, something has to be done in order for us to get to that 5th game. Complacency would be settling for the round of 16 every single time around.
Right.
And so I do agree with that point and what you're trying to get at, where 2026 is coming. We're going to be essentially at home.
Essentially.
That has to be the tournament where you have to consider Mexico as a past quarterfinal type of team. That has to be the standard.
Yes.
We cannot go into that tournament thinking, I hope we get to that 5th game. It has to be, we will get to the 5th game. And from then on, we might have a chance at the fucking World Cup.
Yeah.
Jeez, if we're trying to achieve something big here, that has to be the mentality. So in the big picture type of sense, I do agree with you here. But goddamn, man, what a discussion it brings up because I don't want to see us fail this time.
No,
around.
I understand that, and that's why I'm saying my take is very extreme and it's definitely emotionally backed. But yeah, I absolutely understand your take.
And that is Mexico. And that is Mexico, folks. Thank you guys for watching, man. I hope you guys enjoyed this thorough discussion on the Mexican national team, an emotionally filled but also analytically based discussion with this squad that just brings so many emotions out of us, man.
Yeah.
It's Mexico, bro.
It's Mexico.
I can't help myself. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe to keep updated with us as we continue more deep dives. We still have like 10 teams left, so we still have a lot to talk about, including CONCACAF's very own Canada. So stay tuned. I'm excited for that one. But until next time, folks, let us know your thoughts, and we'll see you guys soon. Peace.